What is anchor base? To understand that what is anchor base, first of all we have to understand this problem. So to understand the problem, I am opening the RPA challenge site. Here we have a form where labels are there and text boxes are there. Emails, email is a label and the text box is there. Address label and text box is there. Phone number and text box is there. It's just a form where we can fill email address, role, company, and all these things. But whenever I click the submit button, the form style is getting changed. Earlier it was side by side and up and down also, but now all are up and down. Again I'm clicking the submit button, and this time it is up and down only, but the place of the fields are getting changed. It was earlier the first name was something like here, some other fields were there, but now it has changed. Next time it is also getting changed. Every time whenever I'm clicking the submit button, it's getting changed. So for this type of problem, if we will use this type activity in UiPath, so what will happen? It will come and type here every time. Every time it will come and search the text box and type whatever the field. Suppose first time I have also the example. Suppose first time I will feed here the last name. Like my last name is Nadeem. So every time for the next time, if this we will open the page, so the page will not come like this, and here at the place of last name it is company name, but the bot will come and feed the last name only like this. So this is a problem. Whenever the submit button will come, this time last name is correct, but other fields are not correct. Suppose next time if we will refresh and we will try to feed the value, then at the place of email address it will feed the last name. Every time it will come and it think that the first field is the last name field, and it will come and feed the last name here itself only. So for this type of problem we uses anchor base. What anchor base does and how anchor base does, we will see here. So for this I will create one project. Here I'm going to create one project. First of all I'm deleting this one. I'm creating one project with the name of anchor base. I'm taking flowchart as a workflow. So anchor base. For this, my requirement is to first of all open the browser with this. It should open the browser of rpachallenge.com. So for this, I'm taking here open browser activity. Here I'm taking the open browser activity, and here lots of options you can see: IE, Firefox, Chrome, and Edge. I'm selecting Chrome as a browser and putting the value this site address under the code. So what it will do, it will open this site, and now I'm inside this browser. I'm using anchor base activity. So we can see here that inside the anchor base there are two fields that we have to provide. One is anchor and the other is drop action here. So what anchor does, it will identify one UI part. Suppose here are one UI part is email, and the second UI part is this text box. So there are two UI field or UI component that we have. It works as a two. It works like what anchor base is. It is like a container that searches for an UI element, and when that particular UI element it finds, it again searches for another UI element to fulfill the requirement, to fill the requirement. But so here our requirement is it should search an email address, and whenever it gets the email address, it put the value, the email address next after this label. The field it comes like text box. Next after this label, whatever the next after the email label, whatever the text box come, it fills the email address. So I'm going to for this our requirement is to search this UI element. So for searching the UI element, we have an activity find element. So I'm going to use this find element here and pointing it this email address here, pointing this to the email address. And for this, if it our requirement is when it gets the email address as a label, it searches for the text box, and it should feed the email address inside the text box. So for the putting the value as a into the text box, we have a activity called type into. So I'm keeping this type into here and indicating this text box here. So inside this text box, my requirement is to put the value as this. So what it does, it will open a browser and searches for this URL. And when it opens this URL, it searches email address. It will search email address. When it will find the email address, the next after this label, email address label, whenever whatever the text box will be there, it will feed it will put the value as this email address into this text box. So let's run the program and see what is the output. But before running the program, I'm going to use this delay type of activity for 5 seconds here, so that it will run and wait for 3 seconds. So let's run the program here and see what is the output we are getting. So it opens the browser and searches for the email address here and put the value as an email address here. Earlier the email address was here, but now the email address field is here, and it searches exactly and feed the value here only, not here. So this is how this anchor based activity works. Next time, suppose our requirement is to fill the value here email address. Let me change the value as email address here, first name, and I'm indicating the first just I'm indicating the text box just after the first name. So this one, and the value should be, the first name should be my name, that is Akhtar. The same, my requirement is to same like last name should be filled. Last name should be filled here. So first name here, and here it should be the last name here. So I am going to indicate the last name. Here it is, and after that the last name, the text box just after the last name. So here it is, and my last name is Nadeem. So I am filling the value as Nadeem. Now let's see how this program is working. It is opening a browser, rpchallenge.com, and it is searching for email address, first name, last name, and see here it has not did any error. Wherever it finds the email address and feed it, then after it searches for the first name and put the value, last name and put the value, kept the value here. So this is how the anchor based activity works. That's it. We can, by using the anchor based activity, we can feed the value that is that changes every time, but also we can gather the value from the PDF files as well. So for this demonstration, I'm going to comment this open browser activity, and here we have one PDF file. Suppose this one. So for gathering the value, like here we have one invoice number, and the text invoice number, just after the text invoice number, here is one invoice number. Similarly, just after the text order text, here is text order number. So my requirement is to gather the invoice number order number, shipment number, something like. So here we can also use the anchor based activity to gather the exact value from the PDF files. It is not changing every time, but still we can use this activity to gather the value, gather the data from the PDF file. So how we can use it, I'll show you here. So for this, I'm taking one activity here, find. First of all, anchor based activity we will give. Anchor based activity here. So inside the anchor based activity, two options here we have to provide. One for finding this text and the other to gather this number, this text. First of all, it should find this UI element, and then after it should find this UI element. So our requirement is to gather this UI element to first identify this one. So for this, I'll keep here find element type of activity, find element activity here, and indicate this invoice number. And for this one, I'll use OCR. See, there are lots of OCR activity we get. Here PDF OCR is there, but inside the anchor base, when we try to use this read PDF with OCR, it won't work. Here, this XPS is also does not work. Only this OCR, get OCR text works. So we will use it and indicate this element. Whenever we use this, get OCR text activity, and I try to indicate this, so if we indicate like this, it will throw an error. So I will show you that how we can rectify this. For this, if it is getting the data, so here it is saying that it should be one output type, means our requirement is to gather this one and hold into some variable. So I'm going to create one variable, name invoice number. Here invoice number is there. So the variable has created here, and just simply what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show this into this in log file, log message. Here I'm going to log this as a log message. So for the log message type of activity inside this, I want to keep it information type and invoice type. I'm keeping it here. So what exactly here happening is it is searching this invoice number type of text, and when it will find, it will gather this data, and it will hold into this variable, invoice number variable here that we have declared here, a generic type of value. And here what we are doing, we are logging information type of log message, and what this message will be, this invoice number what we will gather here. So it will show here. So let's run the program, let's run the workflow here and see how it's working. See here, order number. So what we get here, we have indicated that invoice number should gather, but what we are getting here, the text order number we are getting. See here, after invoice number, it is understanding that it is not, nothing is here. This order number text is it's finding. So why it gets this, not this one? It is gathering this data because we indicated like, we indicated like this, but we have to indicate like this. Now let's run the program and see how the output is coming. So the program is same, but this time the output is the correct data what we wanted to gather. So this is also the example where we can use the anchor based activity.